Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks so much for joining me today. I hope everyone is doing well, and if you're not doing well, I hope this video helps to cheer you up. This is a cute little Yeti from Whimsy's new release, and this stamp set is called Yeti to Party, and I'm going to use this stamp set along with some new dies, and they are called the cubed die set. And so included in that is this kind of like a slimline die, and then you have 4 single dies. I'm going to be using the long strip of dies, and I'm going to be using as well my Catherine Pooler inks in Aquatini, Sangria, Daydream, and Sage. And so I'm going to ink those up using my blending brushes onto a piece of accent opaque a cardstock. And I'm not too concerned about how well they're blending together, since I will be cutting out these several strips using the cubed die. And some of my blending brushes are not doing too great. The Sage just looks really, really bad. And I think it's this blending brush is not, I think it's got a little bit too much ink in it, and it is not working too well. So I've been buying my blending brushes from Amazon, but in the comments, let me know what is your favorite blending brush. Maybe I could switch over to another brand. And also, do you rinse and clean your blending brushes? I did on my first set, and I felt like they didn't do perform as well after that, and so I just went ahead and bought a new set because they were fairly cheap. But I would love to just be able to buy one set, and maybe that's not possible, but I would love to hear your opinion on that. So moving along in the card, I went ahead and I splattered it with some of the leftover ink on my little laminated sheet, and then I also splattered it with some white acrylic paint. And the reason these die cut pieces are staying together, the positive and the negative spaces are staying together on this die cut, is because I ran these all through my die cutting machine several times. So I laid the die down and ran it through my machine. I picked it up and then I placed it right next to that first cut, and then ran it through, and then I placed it next to the second cut and ran it through. So this has been run through my die cut machine several times, and when you do that, it kind of just compresses those little pieces and makes them stay in the die cut. And so all of these little pieces do come out. So if you wanted to create a cubed set and change out the colors or whatever, the little squares do come out of the die cut piece. Luckily, they didn't come out on this because it was way easier to just put some adhesive on a piece of cardstock and adhere those, and not have to mess with putting the pieces back into the die cuts. But I went ahead and I adhered those and then cut that extra white space out. And then I'm going to create a little shaker box for my Yeti to sit on. I colored him up, I believe, with my markers. I cannot remember. I made this a little while ago, but I am going to go ahead and create this shaker the hard way. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but it'd be what I do is I take a piece of plastic from plastic packaging for my little shaker window, but I went ahead and I used some adhesive, some really thin adhesive, to go over those boxes to adhere that window. And then I was like, oh, it'd be perfect. My 1/8 inch foam strips would be perfect for this box. But actually, this is probably the harder way to do it. And the easiest way to do this, I think, would probably be to take the die cut and run it through your die cut machine, so you have at least 3 or 4 layers of cardstock, and adhere all those pieces together, just like you were stacking, if you were stacking a sentiment or something like that. That stack would be about the same as me putting that foam on, and it would have been much easier to line up. So that's another option, but I did not think of that for some reason at the time. But I went ahead and I added my little shaker bits, and then I colored up a piece of cardstock using the Sangria ink for my background, and then I'm just going to cut off that excess. And the top of the box doesn't have any shaker in it, that's because the Yeti is going to be sitting on that. And then I'm going to take a kind of a maroonish colored piece of twine and tape it to the back of my card panel and wrap it around a few times. And then I'm also going to create a tag for my sentiment, and the sentiment I'm using says, are you Yeti for cake? And so I made a little tag and rounded off the top and then hole punched it, and then I'm going to add another piece of that twine through the tag and then tie that onto the string. And then I will add a little bit of foam to the back of this panel. And I am using the same foam that I have been using a lot of lately. It's super thin foam that you can get a big stack at the dollar store or Walmart. And I adhered that to the back of my panel and then added some liquid adhesive to adhere that to my card base. Then I'm just adding a little bit of glue to the top of that little shaker box. And since the box is a little dimensional from the shaker, from the foam, I went ahead and added a little bit of foam to the back of the Yeti to make them both on the same level, and then added a little bit of liquid adhesive to the back of the box and added a few sequins, and that finishes this card off. I think this stamp set is so super adorable. All of the product details will be in the description below if you're interested in checking that out. If you liked this video or found it informative, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And as always, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to spend with me, and I hope to see you next time.